Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and there was this article that appeared on the website naturallymoi.com that talks about marrying outside of your race, and they actually claim that black women are worse off economically because they refuse to date outside their race and marry outside their race. So to talk about this, I wanted to speak to the marriage, moneyhood, and money-making expert, Miss Noma Langamushali Moses from HealthyBlackWoman.com. How you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm waiting for you to come home. You've been in Botswana for how many thousands of years now?
Uh, yeah, let's call it 1,000 years. I'm having a great time. Obviously, I always love being around my family that I grew up with and my extended family, and of course, this is my country of birth. So, having a wonderful time.
Yeah, well, I got a chance to visit Botswana, and I just loved it there. And I encourage everybody watching, you gotta go. First of all, you got to check out a lot of the countries in Africa. But Botswana is so beautiful. There's so many opportunities, and I just felt just a sense of relief being there that I don't get to feel so much at home. So I'm going back. I'm going back in a few months. Now I want to ask you this. You're a married woman. You married an African American man. You've got some kids that are they're African children in my they're so African American, African, all that, but I just say African. That's what we kind of all are, right? Okay. So what did you think about this story? I mean, it kind of concerned me a little bit. What do you think?
Well, here's the story. Here's how I think the story is often interpreted. Okay, so let's start with what the story says. The story is stating some facts. Um, People who are subject to poverty or the most vulnerable to poverty are African American women. Okay, we can agree on that. We can also agree that African American women marry outside of their race the least. They just don't do it. Or they do it, but very sparingly. Those are the things that we can all agree on. However, I have noticed that when you see stories like this, an African American man might interpret it as, you know, just saying we're not good enough for you, so you should get a man from another race. Don't, ignore us and get somebody else. That's how it can often feel like. It can feel like that's what's being stated, even though that's not what's being stated. And then to some African American women, it can also feel kind of the same way. Like, okay, are you saying that our men should be abandoned and we should go somewhere else? And African American women are very loyal to African American men if you pay attention to their dating and marrying patterns. Um, Now, when we get to the part about this research and this analysis, there is a correlation between not getting married and being poor. There's a correlation between those two things because you have one income rather than two. And then if you insist on marrying from a dating pool, which has already been affected by a lot of things, and I won't go through all the things, but when you're a woman who's determined to marry African American men or black men in America, it can be slim pickings for various reasons. So, black women are putting themselves in a little bit of a corner, and that can't be denied.
Okay, well, I think that's interesting. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say that I don't, jump up and down and get angry when I see an interracial couple. I don't. I think love comes from all different directions, and I think it's okay as long as you're getting something that's going to make your life better and make you happy. Um, I think what probably does burn me up is when I see people that seem to feel that their race is not good enough, that the only way that I can find a healthy relationship is if I date a white woman or an Asian woman or or a man from Europe or something, that kind of burns me up because sometimes what you're doing is you might possibly in some cases be reflecting your own dysfunctionality onto other people, or you're giving up on your race. Maybe you're not reflecting on the fact that you're searching in the wrong places or whatever. But it seems that the study, when I'm looking at this, which it looks like it came from the Brookings Institute, and they're kind of saying that people tend to want to marry people in the same at the same educational level, maybe the same economic level. And Susan Patton, the Princeton mom who I talk to every week, that's kind of what she says, not just about black women, but about everybody. And so what she always says is that look, as a woman in general, if you're more highly educated, it's going to be tougher for you to find a man to fit you. Just almost like being a tall woman. If you're 6'8" and you're a woman, it's and you want a man to be taller than you. Well, you're not going to have as many options. So she says that black women are kind of in the worst position because black women are among the most educated group of people in America, and black men are kind of struggling. Black men as a collective, as a whole, not every black man, but as a whole, on average, we may not be doing as well economically and societally, and a lot of it's not our fault. We know what's going on. The prisons are being filled with black men, and that's why I say that if you want to preserve the black family, you got to fight the prison problem, because what they're doing is they're locking your husband up in prison. Your daughter's future husband is being sucked into this criminal justice system, and it's killing his ability to really be a man by being able to provide for the people that he loves, because he's banned from getting jobs. He may be incarcerated for long periods of time for something he didn't do, or for a minor offense, things like that. So there's a lot of dynamics here, and I think that what probably is risky about this kind of story is that it does, the title of the story and the topic of the story almost comes off like a recommendation. Like, girl, the reason you broke is because you're chasing these broke black men. These black men who can't do nothing for you, girl. You need to go get you a white man. And I think that's how people feel. And I felt a little bit offended when I saw it, and I could tell a lot of people felt the same way. So what do you think? I mean, how do you process this? I mean, as a black woman, let's say as a black woman who loves black men, how do you even look at this story and not feel like it's some sort of recommendation?
Well, I think it is a recommendation, and I've made that recommendation before, although I stated it differently. I think that the only thing, you shouldn't only look for one thing when you're looking for a partner. I think that's a mistake. Just looking at somebody's education is not wise. It's not the only thing that will qualify them as a husband or as a life partner or as a wife, whatever. I think that what I know now, having been married a while and being around other people who've been married, is that you do have to have some similarities. In fact, a lot of similarities. All this romantic notions about opposites attract and all that is rubbish, I think, because opposites tend to actually cause conflict. I think that I think that the more alike that you are, the more you have similar values, similar beliefs, the more likely you are to have a good relationship, and you can still challenge each other and grow together. But education is just one thing. So I would not use that as a measuring stick for how successful your relationship will be. Although you are likely, I think, to face more conflict if there's a big gap. Having said that, I'm going to also say that black women are narrowing their pool, their dating pool, or the number of people that they can marry if they only say, I only want a black man, and then maybe further narrow it by saying, I want him to be educated, I want him to make this money, and so forth. Then you've basically talked yourself out of ever finding somebody, even if you're not getting married, just a life partner or whatever. You've talked yourself out of being with anybody. So I think that it's important to broaden the dating pool. Not just through race, through everything. Don't only look at education. Don't only look at race. Look at a number of things and look for similarities in values and beliefs and vision for what you want for your future. And I think that is what works. So it does sound like a recommendation. I think that they're focusing too much on race. There's other factors.
Well, I think you said it all. I couldn't help but to read the story and not feel a little offended as a black man, because I know as a black man how hard it is out here. I had education. I had as much education as a person can get, and I can tell you that a lot of major white universities will not hire me because I'm a radical black man, right? And I don't care. I'm gonna be fine. I learned how to build my own business, and I went out and made my own money. That's why I'm such an advocate for entrepreneurship for black men, especially black men who've been in the criminal justice system. But it's hard out here. I mean, it's really hard. And the thing is that, we do our best. I know guys that respect and love black women. They're not into all this nonsense of disrespecting black women and treat them well. But some of these guys get stepped on because they're not able to bring some of the material stuff to the table that other people might be able to bring. So I think the easiest way to piss me off is when you somehow come up and say, "Oh, I married a white man because he has money and he can do things that these broke black men can't do." Well, yeah, he's a white man. White men may have the bulk of the wealth because they spent hundreds of years pretty much crucifying all of society and stealing everything black people had and blocking black men from getting opportunities. That's why white men have all the wealth in America, and that's just a fact. So, so that's it. But I'll just say this. I think that there is value to having loyalty to your culture, having a commitment to building the black family. I think that the era of despair that we're experiencing now, economically and otherwise, it's temporary. Remember, society has lasted for tens of thousands of years, and so we might be going through an era where the black man's, down for the count for a while, but the black family will rise again. Europe's I don't know if you know this, Noma, but Europe's dark period lasted 1,500 years. Europe had 1,500 years of total chaos, just savagery, just, backward thinking, illiteracy, everything, just complete ignorance and chaos. And you see what they eventually did. They were able to rise and succeed and do some great things. So I say the same thing is true for the black family. So those of you who are committed to the building of black families in America, I say stick to your commitment, be steadfast, and realize that some things are more important than money. It doesn't mean money doesn't matter, but you can also build wealth by working together as a family. But I argue that many of us are going to do better by sticking together than we are by diluting who we are and saying, oh, I need to jump ship because there's nothing over here. All the good stuff is over there. I'm not a fan of that. So that's it. I'm done. Did you have something else you wanted to say about this?
Actually, I just wanted to agree with you and say that the African American family is actually very young, because if you think about the fact that in America there was slavery, and then there was all the pushback in the '60s about we want our freedom, we want the rights, and so forth. Then we enter a new era where, okay, yeah, we are free, sort of, and and we do have rights and so forth. But it's a very, very young. It's a very young people, as is America. America is only 400 years old. Other countries have been, using the same traditions and the same cultures for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before Americans were. So we do have to be patient, and we do have to recognize that sometimes it does require time for things to turn around and turn into what we want them to be.
Yeah, and I think and just so you know, everybody, Noma's being from Botswana. I want to throw this part in here about the history of America. From what I understand, our country is actually about 250 years old. But even before then, there was another 150 years, as you mentioned, where Europeans were in America with African slaves, and even before then, there were the Native Americans. So it's not to say Noma was wrong about that. It's just I want to clarify that so no one gets emails and says, "Well, you said America is 400 years old. That's crazy." So that's what she's talking about, and that's what we're referring to. But ultimately, she is right. And in fact, if you're dealing with the women that you work with, just always tell them that they're right, so they don't beat you up. So anyway, I'm being silly, but Noma, thank you very much for your time. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. This is Nomalanga Mushali Moses. She is at healthyblackwoman.com. She is an expert on marriage, motherhood, and money making. She also runs the blackhomeschool.com, and she's pretty much kind of like the Oprah of Botswana now. That's kind of what she's becoming. Everybody in Botswana loves her to death, and people in the United States love her too. And me, I'm just the guy who gets the opportunity to talk to you today. And I'm also at yourblackworld.net, and also we have a new film coming out called resurrectingblackwallstreet.com, which you can find out. It's all about the Black Wall Street Massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921, and you can support the film. Please, please, please support the film. It's at resurrectingblackwallstreet.com. So please go to the website and pre-order the film, and I promise you the money will be used to employ black people. That's what we do. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.